Well, at this time of year, if you're not playing, your focus just goes in another direction. It goes immediately to recruiting first. We've had a great week of camps. It's kind of I get asked a lot about why we have camps during this time of year. We had them last week and this week. They say, why would you have that going on during regionals and super regionals? And it's really a neat situation we have in that the last couple of years, or 2 out of the last 3 years, we've had campers watch us prepare for super regionals. So that's been a neat thing for us in the past. But we're focused in on recruiting, we're focusing on camps, and you really don't have a lot of time. A lot of people ask me about the teams in the World Series, and I've done several radio stuff for Omaha and things of that nature. But my focus isn't on the 8 teams in Omaha. It's on the group of 30 or 40 guys that who are 2015, 16s, and 17s. We're focused on in the recruiting process. So that's where we're at. Our kids who are playing summer ball right now are off to a great start. We keep close tabs on those guys. We have a couple of guys who are battling some medical stuff that we're working through right now, so we're focused in on that. And our staff is pretty scattered just around the country, trying to find the right guys for the right fit for our program.
Can you go through the medical stuff?
Yeah, sure. Humphreys is having a little bit of minor surgery to displace a nerve. It was explained to me it's a lot like Rout's surgery from a couple of years ago. So he's going to be fine. It's going to be, I'm hearing it's going to be 4 or 5 weeks, and he's going to be able to get back out and play. Jacob Robson had a similar type of nerve displacement surgery. The way it's described to me, they're just moving the ulnar nerve to, make them more comfortable when they're throwing. So he's doing well, and he's going to be playing baseball here in the next week or 2. So, outside of those 2 guys, I think we're pretty healthy, and I think our guys are playing pretty well in the summer. I was following on Twitter. Collins gets to the Cape as a freshman and immediately has some impact. Certainly Heck has done well. And, there's Garner has, gosh, I think he had 3 home runs in 3 games. So, our kids are doing well, and they all know that there's a mission this summer that's got to get better and to make our team better. Can you update the medicals like Young and all the other guys who were hurt this past season? Yeah, I think Young is progressing nicely. I've been told by our medical people that he's ahead of schedule. Will Cox's surgery was a little different than the other ones, just from the standpoint of his. He had a little bit more repair he had to do to his tendon, so not tendon, his ligament.
Shelley.
And I think Shelley's way ahead of schedule. I think he's already throwing a baseball. So we're excited about all those guys coming back.
And the guys that got drafted, I know they're no longer in your program, but are you proud of them? What does it mean to see them get to pursue their dreams?
Yeah, Lindgren's the first pick by the New York Yankees. I mean, what an incredible. It's amazing. You don't want to get nostalgic. But, I remember seeing him on film for the very first time about 4 years ago, and I saw one breaking ball from Jacob Lindgren, and a bunch of us looked at each other and said, we got to get that guy. That's something we needed to have in our program, was a legitimate swing and miss breaking ball. And to see he and Holder, those are 2 guys who committed to us, gosh, 4.5 years ago, almost in the same time. Maybe even within the same 2-week time period, those 2 guys committed to us, and it, felt like kind of changing or altering our program. That's what we're doing right now. We're getting commitments from kids who we think can change our program. We have a saying in the recruiting process: we want to add to the top. You want to add to the top. You don't want to add to the bottom, of your talent pool in your program. And certainly those 2 kids made a huge difference. By the way, the Greek word nostalgia, within that word, the root of it is pain. So when you're looking back at these things, there's a little bit of pain. You lose those 2 guys, that's a painful experience. But, we feel good about moving forward. We had no idea the impact those two guys would have on our program at that moment. And right now, we don't have any idea, you know, who the next two are going to be, but we know that we're going to have others, you know, who are going to fall into that category.
How do you guys go about evaluating areas of need that you foresee in the future as you guys move into the off-season?
Well, I think it's important to note, you know, our sport is so different than the big times, than sports that get so much coverage, right? Like, we're literally getting commitments from kids right now who will not step on this campus for 3 years. And when you're recruiting from the highest level, that's how it has to be. And I feel like we're at a point in this program to where we're making really good decisions about sophomores in high school, or juniors who are in high schools. In some cases, but rarely, you know, ninth graders who are going to be 10th graders, you know. And you have to do that. And, you know, I felt like in the beginning we're a little bit behind, but I think at this point in time we're in a very good position from a recruiting standpoint. And I think people know and trust where we're going from here. And I think that, you know, the kids that we have coming in next semester are a very nice mix of some junior college kids who we think can step in and help immediately. And I think, you know, it doesn't matter how talented the freshman is, there is a gestation period. There's a period of time where they have to get used to the speed of the game and everything else. Especially when you consider the catching position. You know, if you start looking around that field of 8 in Omaha, and you start looking around at the team, boy, it's a rare occasion when there is a true freshman who is catching that team. It's usually that guy who's a fourth-year guy. We've been very fortunate for the last 2 years. We have had really experienced guys who are, you know, behind the plate for us. And now, you know, I believe we have one of the most talented freshmen in the entire country. What's crazy about Gavin Collins is I ask every one of our freshmen the same question when we have our exit meeting. You know, exit meetings are crazy. You know, exit meetings, every coach in America has exit meetings, but they're really kind of a thing in the past because you have this meeting and you talk to this kid before they go out and play, but because of, you know, your phone, you're talking to them all the time anyway. So it used to be this deal to where there's this separation thing. Well, I mean, you don't have any separation for your players now because of, you know, things that are available to you. But I asked Gavin Collins, I said specifically, knowing what you know now, what would you tell Gavin Collins coming in as a freshman to help him out? And he immediately said to slow things down and to, you know, every one of our arms are different, and your first responsibility is to lock in and learn those arms. In high school, you don't have to do that because you don't have so many different weapons, you know, who can really beat you up behind the plate. So I think Gavin has come a long way. Certainly, I think Cody Walker is somebody in a second year as a junior college player who's going to make a huge jump for us. I think that is the key to our whole ball club, is the jump at the catching position next year. That was a concern for me going in, not because of our talent. We might be more talented there than we've been in a long time. But just moving forward, you know, having those guys with some experience, I think, is huge going into next year.
You talked about summer ball, but how big is it for guys like a Gavin Collins or a Daniel Garner, just for coming into next year? Just how big do you think summer ball is for those
I think it's
guys?
huge. You know, Britton's in the Cape. You know, we have several guys in the Cape. We have guys scattered all the way from California to the East Coast. I think we have 22 guys playing summer baseball right now. I think it's huge. You know, it's amazing. A good friend of mine who played college baseball and actually played professional baseball and even played in the big leagues. You know, he made a comment to me. He said, you know, all this travel ball stuff in high school, you know, these kids from communities that go out and play here and there, why don't they just stay together in their area with their high school team? And I said to that guy, you know, hey, when you were in college and you went off and played in Alaska, or you went off and played in Iowa, or you went off and played in the Cape Cod League, how much did that help you as a player? He goes, oh my God, it was huge. And I said, well, why wouldn't it be the same for anybody going through that same process? It's not just a baseball experience. It's getting out of your comfort zone. It's meeting kids from all over the country. It's playing for a new set of coaches. All those kids and all their experience, they come back and they make our program better. And I'll never forget sitting down with Pat McMahon. He was the guy that placed all of us when I played here. And Pat just said, here's where you're going, and you ain't coming home. And he said that to the same guys. Because you get to Alaska, you get to Cape, you play, 25, 30 games in the fall, you played 60-something games in the spring, and you get to that 40-game mark in the summer, and a lot of kids are like, man, I just want to go home and rest, but you got to grind through it, and that was the message for all of our players. That's something I really took from Pat, because it's not just, hey, did you hit 300? It's not just, how did you pitch? How did you defend? It's, hey, this whole new experience, and I've grinded through the whole thing. I got through the end, and I'm going to bring a whole lot back to Mississippi State.
Did you try new foods?
Yeah, no question. There's probably not a lot of fried catfish in the Cape Cod. Yeah, it's all new.
What's the conversations like with a guy like Dale who was selected later on in the draft as a coach? And I'm sure it's kind of an individual case-by-case basis, but you've had a lot of success getting those guys on campus.
Well, here's what's on the surface. What's on the surface is, you say Dale Burdick's a 40th rounder. He's not really a 40th rounder because so many of our kids in that class coming in were called, and they're called the day ahead. They play the semantics game of what will it take. Now, they can't specifically negotiate, but it's a semantics game of what will it take for you to sign. And I'm really proud of this group because they turned down a lot of opportunities in the first 10 rounds. So the top 10 rounds isn't the top 10 rounds of talent. It's the top 10 rounds of people who will take that money in that round and go play professional baseball. I think what you're seeing, the biggest difference in the draft now and in years past, third rounders, fifth rounders, eighth rounders, ninth rounders, 10th rounders, they didn't sign. Now clubs can't afford to not sign them, so they're going to do so much homework and make sure the person they select in those top 10 rounds is going to sign. So I think the Dale Burdicks of the world, who command a pretty heavy price tag coming out of high school, they are going to slip, and they're not going to be as highly drafted because they're willing to invest a lot in themselves, and they have a high price tag, and they should. Because giving up this experience should and does, it should cost somebody some organization a tremendous amount of money.
How have you adjusted your recruiting for the low seam baseball that's coming in next year?
Well, I think we do have a lot of young kids who have power, who don't fit into the, runner, defender type of mold. The Ingram kid who's off to a good start in the summer from Alabama, we think he's a redshirt guy who could fit into that mold. Certainly Garner fits into that mold a little bit. Humphreys fits into that mold. If we're going to get an extra 15 to 20 feet, which still, remains to be seen. Is that actually going to happen? Don't know. But that's what everybody's saying. As soon as we get, those 200 dozen baseballs and we start hitting them every single day, we'll see what a difference it makes. But in our ballpark, we still put a premium on being able to defend and cover the ballpark. We need to be a more successful offensive team, there's no doubt about it, but I don't want to trade what we're doing defensively and on the mound to be able to hit 20 more home runs, because that's not going to help us in wins and losses. So do I want more doubles? Do I want more home runs? Do I want more runs? Yes. I think if you ask every coach in the Southeastern Conference, maybe with the exception of Kentucky, they're probably going to tell you the same thing. And how we're all going to adapt to this new ball, I think after you play 25 games in the fall with it, you're a little bit trapped, because I think it's easy to say, hey, how come you didn't use that ball in the spring and get your kids used to it? Well, because now all of a sudden your best guy has a blister because he's going from low seam to high seam, low seam to high seam. So you're not going to run that risk. From an offensive standpoint, why are you going to add 15 feet or 20 feet, whatever it's going to end up being to the guy, and then put him right back in the low seam and have that same ball and not leave the ball? So it didn't make any sense. There's not a period of time that you're going to be able to adjust to it except this ball. So we'll see.
Don't they use that in Cape Cod, or am I wrong about that?
I don't know. I think different summer leagues use different balls. And I think a lot of it has to do with expense. So, yeah.
John, after the run you made last year and then Ole Miss making the College World Series this year, Southern Miss is not too far removed from that. They made it a few years. What does it say about college baseball in this state?
I think it's incredible. I think it's time for people to really, take a closer look at what the high school coaches in the state and the junior college coaches in the state are doing for college baseball, because, when you consider our population base, I'm just assuming we have the smallest population of any of the schools in the Southeastern Conference, any of the states. It's unbelievable how many players are coming out of the state and what they're contributing to, at Southern Miss, at Mississippi State, at Ole Miss, and let's not forget Jackson State. It's, and all the other, schools in the state. I think it's pretty remarkable how many really good baseball athletes, football athletes, basketball, it's really incredible. And it's humbling to be part of that. And certainly at our team camp last night, just talking to so many of the high school coaches who are from our area who brought their teams here, it's just, the job they do is unbelievable. They're running their concession stands, they're mowing their infield grass, they're working their infield dirt, they're putting in their own irrigation systems, they're taking tickets at it's a job, a thankless job, unlike any other high school job. The high school baseball coach, you can't just roll the balls out there and play. You have so many auxiliary types of jobs that you have to do. So my hat's off to all those guys and the work that they put in.
You mentioned not giving up any defensive speed, but it's still, with the red shirts, based on what we've seen, it will be physically something of a different team next year. Not a huge team, but still looks like more physical.
Yeah, we will have more physical pieces to it for sure. But at the same time, we feel like we brought in some fast twitch infield guys. We feel like it's one of the neat things about Dale Burdick. Dale Burdick has power, but he also can really run. He is a plus runner. I think that we have several pieces coming into this club that are a chance to contribute.
Where do guys, so the red shirts, you mentioned like Swinarski and Rooker and other guys like that project?
Yeah, Swinarski's another guy. He can run. He also has some power for sure. I think we're going to be a better offensive club. But again, I want to defend at the highest level. I don't know where we finished in the country, and we finished 5th in the country in fielding percentage. And our middle guys were the two, in my opinion, two best defensive middle guys in the Southeastern Conference. Two of the best, maybe the best middle in the entire country in terms of just not making mistakes. What's crazy is the things you remember, you only remember those mistakes, but I think those two guys combined for less than 10 errors in the middle infield in 64, or maybe less than 10 in 30 conference games.
Yeah.
That's pretty remarkable when you think about it. Was it 10 in 30 conference games?
10 and 30 conferences, something like that, yeah.
Okay.
There's one or two
Cool.
off maybe.
I feel like it kind of dodged a bullet too, and that Seth Heck didn't, because of the way he played the second half of the season, nobody took a chance on drafting him, trying to sign a free agent.
Yeah, I think Seth's just a really good college baseball player, and what amazed me about Seth down the stretch is how well he ran. Like, he came to us advertised as an average runner, and at the end of the year, that guy's running 4.15, 4.2, which is above average. His mind he just has a great baseball mind, and there's no doubt in my mind he's gonna get better also and be a better player.
Coach, you hinted at offense, but where else do you see needs for improvement to still be playing this time next year?
Well, we have some holes in our bullpen for sure. We're gonna have to have some guys who step forward in our bullpen. We have really good candidates for that, but until they step out there and do it, you don't know. Inter-squad games are different than playing in front of 10,000 people in the Southeastern Conference. So, six
errors, that's all.
between the two of them
Two of
and
them
the
together in the
SEC.
SEC.
Yeah, that's remarkable. I'd love to know, Kyle, when the last time that was done. That's.
Two were shortstop. That's amazing.
That's pretty incredible. But, yeah, I feel like, our bullpen has been our strength for a while. I think it can continue to be. Guys like Tatum, have stepped forward. He's going to be really good. We have a kid we redshirted named Billingsley. He's got a wipeout breaking ball. He was, we had him Velcro to Jonathan Holder the entire, year. I think we're going to have some options out of there.
And starting rotation too, kind of a rough sketch or candidates?
Yeah, I think we have several candidates for that. You know, we need Jonathan Holder, not Jonathan Holder, we need Dakota Hudson, you know, to have a great summer and step forward. The reason I mention him is he's the stuff guy. Like, he's the guy who can go 95. He's the guy with the plus breaking ball. I think he's the guy who can, if he can log, you know, we need a guy like that to log the 90 to 100 innings and be a real guy, and he wants to be. So I think he's just a couple of adjustments away from being able to do that kind of stuff. But, you know, we have other candidates as well. You know, we have some new guys that we feel like are, you know, pretty good candidates as well.
Have you talked to Wes Ray? What's his situation?
You know, Wes is going to go play in Maryland, and I think he left this morning with Cody Brown, and there's no doubt Wes needs to go out and have a great summer. Didn't play last summer. He got banged up in the College World Series, and I think he's excited about it. I think he kind of wants to reinvent himself a little bit. I think he's disappointed in the year he had, but, you know, really proud of the fact that down the stretch he came back and played some of his best baseball. So, you know, I said all along during the course of our season, for us to be as good as we can be, Wes needs to be in the middle of it, and he's going to go out, he's going to work on some things with his game, and he's going to, you know, come back, hopefully, and be able to help our ball club.
Any other questions?
Will you release a list of signees this year?
Probably not.
Just had to ask.
You can find them on my page.
Yeah, probably not, for several reasons. Probably not.
Have you, obviously the conversation is going on with Scott and administration, but talk about stadium, a lot of, even though nothing's in really close term, you got to be a lot of excitement even just thinking about the possibilities there.
Yeah, I think, you know, Scott is such a progressive guy. He's always thinking out of the box, and, you know, he's got some neat stuff. But, you know, in terms of the planning stage, they have several options. I've seen, you know, drawings and things like that, and I think there's some really neat stuff out there. I do. And one of the neat things about our situation, though, is I love the fact that, you know, we have an athletic director who just gets college baseball and understands historically, you know, how significant Dudy Noble Field is to Mississippi State, and takes it very, very, very seriously. So to be honest with you, I don't even think about that. I just think about who we're recruiting, how our kids are developing during the course of the summer, and you know, what we're going to do when kids show up in August, which is not that far away.
You said you've seen all the options.
Yeah.
Do they all include this site here, or is there options for other locations on campus?
You know what? I think that's something Scott could do a better job on. I've just seen pictures. I haven't asked a ton of questions, but, you know, the neat thing about it is I don't think there's any stone that's been unturned. I think they're investigating. Everything is still on the table in terms of what they want to do.
So it could be a renovation, it could be a complete rebuild.
Right.
All the options are considered.
Right. I think there's a ton of options that are available, and I think they're exploring every single one of them. And again, that's one of the things I admire about Scott. He doesn't do anything without putting a tremendous amount of thought into it. And, you know, when is it going to happen? Don't know. How much it's going to cost? Don't know. Exactly the nature of what's going to happen? Don't know.
But something is going to happen.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Cool. Thank you, John.
Yep.